Okay, so we've talked about the physical hardware and working with VMs. Now we're going to talk about uh, the virtual hardware. Of course, as every VM pretends to be a physical computer, they're all going to need a disk, a NIC, memory, and a CPU. The exact configuration will depend on what you need them to do. How many CPUs, how much memory, how much virtual disk space, how many of them, thin provisioned, thick provisioned, etc. One NIC or several, um, potentially in different on different virtual switches, etc. The vSphere client interface, just like the workstation, the VMware workstation interface or the player interface, will provide a default memory size for your VM, more or less on the basis of what operating system that you tell it it's going to be. That's why it's so important to A, tell it roughly what you're trying to build, and then B, pay close attention to see if what you're trying to build and what it thinks you need are the same thing. Because you might have to look at, let's say, the 2 gigs that it might want to give you on it for a Windows 10 platform, kick that up to 4. For an older Linux, it might give you half a gig, 512 megs or 768. You should probably kick that up to a gig if you can afford it. Now, these VMs running on the free hypervisor can have up to 8 virtual CPUs. If you have a platform which needs more virtual CPUs because it's a VM that's going to run more complicated applications, you're going to need the free, not the free, but the licensed ESXi. That'll give you more options. You'll have at least one virtual disk. Your creation wizard will allow you to figure out what kind of virtual SCSI adapter it is, if it's logic, if it's SAS or SATA or SCSI or IDE or whatnot, in part, again, based on your choice of guest OS. And again, based on your guest OS, you're going to have a couple of options. Either your standard option, honestly, is the E1000 or E1000E. These are gigabit NICs. Or VMX Net 2 or VMX Net 3, these are enhanced, or your flexible network adapter. You might also need other devices, a virtual DVD drive, USB ports, tape backup, plotter scanner, whatnot. Think about what you need and build it. Then you could either map that CD drive to an ISO, like what we do in, say, VMware Workstation in the Linux or server class, or literally map to a physical drive if you've got one. Now, vSphere 6 will support USB 3, but if your OS doesn't, you can tune that down. Give it USB 2.0 support or 1.0 support. Whatever the guest OS needs, set that up so that your guest OS doesn't look at its hardware and freak out. The next thing we're going to talk about is our virtual machine consoles and creating VMs, and then we'll summarize the whole chapter, and this video series will be done. So thank you for watching.